Welcome back to the show. It's not very often that someone in their late 40s is swimming lifetime best times, unless you're Dara Torres, but that is the case with our next guest, David Guthrie. He won 2 NAIA collegiate titles in 1980 and competed at the '84 Olympic trials, but he didn't really come into his own until he began swimming masters in the early 1990s. Since he's broken dozens of masters world records in the 40 to 44 and 45 to 49 age groups, and he's still breaking them today. Joining us now via Skype from Houston is David Guthrie. David, welcome to the Morning Swim Show.
Hi, Peter. Thank you. It's a surprise and an honor to be on the show, that's for sure.
Well, we love having you, and you have a very interesting background with swimming. Very little background when you were young. Tell us about where you grew up and how swimming really wasn't an option.
Well, we moved around regularly when I was a child, and there was a few years where we lived in New Jersey, and I was just a little kid, like 3 to 5 years old there. But that's where I was first introduced to swimming. My older brother swam. It was sort of a family tradition. But then we moved up to a rural part of Canada, and there were no swimming pools at all. So for those formative years, from say 8 to 12 years old, I didn't have access to swimming. So I had a deep desire to do this, but just no opportunity. Then we moved to Arkansas, rural Arkansas, and again, there wasn't a strong swimming program. So I carried this desire along, and then when I finally got the opportunity in college to really train on a regular basis, that's when I got to explore the whole sport.
Now, do you remember what it was about swimming that gave you that strong desire, even though you really didn't have a pool in the neighborhood or a chance to swim a lot?
It's those early memories. I swam in a couple of swim meets, summer league when I was a little kid. I just loved the water. We had a 50-yard swimming pool that was right next door to our house. That was a community swimming pool, and we just spent every day there in the summer. So, and I just took to the water like a frog. I just loved swimming.
You're into architecture now. Is there anything about your career that that you try and that helps you with your swimming?
I think they really feed each other, and I think that's something unexpected. The lessons I learned from one, I can apply to the other, and I guess they're the obvious things. The swimming facility design is a desire I have that's yet unfulfilled, but I'm exploring more avenues of design. I do industrial design and photography and graphic design. I'm involved some in filmmaking. So I'm not so much just focused on architecture, looking at that as a tool to sort of become an entrepreneur, develop some other ideas.
You mentioned that you mentioned building design. An interesting story a lot of people don't know about you. You were actually at Texas A&M last year when they were having issues with getting the pool length correct, and you're the one who discovered that it was just a bit short at one of those meets. Is that true?
Something like that. In order to set world records and masters, you have to measure the pool before and after the meet, and especially when there's a bulkhead. So that was the situation. So I had to bring this laser device, a measuring device, and the guys at A&M treat me so well. They were so receptive and supportive, and it was a real shame that happened. And I think they took a little bit more blame than they deserved, because they don't really run the pool. It's the facility management runs the pool, and they just sort of use it. But it's interesting. It sort of sent a shockwave through the whole swimming community to start thinking about these issues, which I think are extremely important to resolve, to have a policy and an approach that makes sense.
Let me ask you this. As an architect, you probably look at facilities different than most of us. What is your favorite pool that you've been to, or favorite natatorium?
My favorite place to swim, hands down, is UT. It's a phenomenal facility in
Texas.
every way, and it's
Okay.
really withstood the test of time. It feels contemporary, even though it was built in the 70s. And then, of course, the IUPUI is the prototype for that next generation of pools. Seattle and Minnesota, several other facilities follow that model. But I really enjoy the intimacy of the UT pool. It's not so overwhelming. It's not a giant warehouse. Definitely I'm aware of the things that make an environment conducive wanting to be there, as opposed to just sort of tolerating it. And right now I swim outdoors. I love swimming outdoors, so I'm pretty picky about the indoor facilities. I'm aware of what that environment means.
Well, David, we hope you keep getting faster as you get older, and you've been a great guest. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks. I appreciate the time.
All right, that's David Guthrie joining us from Houston today. We'll take one more quick break on the show. When we come back, we'll talk to another breaststroker who broke an Olympic champion's YMCA national record.